This conference will now be recorded.
In yesterday's session, we were discussing about a Docker file. What is Docker file? Why do we need Docker file? And the instructions, the Docker domain specific instructions, what can be used in Docker file, and what is what we were discussing. We already discussed about from, we already discussed about maintainer, we already discussed about copy, add, run, and CMD. So we already discussed in detail yesterday itself. I don't want to again waste much time. At high level, again I will repeat. So from indicates what? From indicates what? From indicates the base image using which we are trying to build our own image. Can we have except from? Can I have any other instruction as a first instruction in my Docker file? Yes, that is the only instruction which can be used before from is arg. Arg. Except arg, we cannot have any other instruction as a first instruction other than from. Now maintainer is just a documentation, kind of a documentation purpose. Like we can define who is the owner or creator or maintainer of that image, author of that image. So this copy and add both can be used to what? Both can be used to copy files or folders to the image. But what is the difference between copy and add? Copy files, folders to the image, local files. Local files. What is the meaning of local files? The files which are from the build context. The files which are there in a build context, it can copy. Add also can copy local files. Add also can copy local files to the image. Apart from local files, it can also copy or it can also add files from remote locations, remote HTTPS endpoints. And what is the one more difference in the add? What is one more additional functionality in the add other than adding local files or remote files? What else add can do? So if we are adding a tar file, using add command, using add instruction, it is going to add that file, and also is it going to extract that file in that image? Once it is added to the image, it is going to extract that in the image, the tar file, right? Now this run CMD entry point, we discussed. So we can execute command or scripts using these three: run, CMD, and entry point. We can use these three to run some commands or scripts. But when the run instruction will be executed, when the CMD instruction is executed is important. So this run command or run instructions will be executed when? While building the image. While building the image. Building or creating, both are same. Don't get confused. It is English. Building and creating both are same. So while building or while creating an image, this run instruction will be executed. Can I have any number of run instructions in a Docker file? Yes. Does all these run instructions will be executed one after the other in top to bottom order? Yes. So for what purpose we can use run instruction? What is the use case for run? Can I use run instructions to do some configurations or installing some softwares or doing some configurations while creating an image? Yes. So whatever softwares or configurations I have done while creating an image Does those configurations or softwares will be part of your container wherever you create a container out of that image? Yes. Now CMD. What is the use of CMD? CMD also can be used to execute some command or script, but when this CMD will be executed? While starting the container. While starting the container. So can I use CMD to start the process of my container? I mean to say start the process within my container, whatever process I want to start based on what software you have in the image. Can I start that process? Suppose if I have a Node.js software in the image, can I use CMD to start that node process? Suppose if I have a Java in the image, can I use that CMD to start Java process? If I have a Tomcat in my image, can I use CMD to start my Tomcat process? Yes. Suppose if I have a database software, suppose if I have a database software like MySQL or Mongo database in the image, can I use CMD to start that MySQL process or Mongo process? So we can use this CMD to start the process within your container. Now, what is difference between CMD and entry point? I will come in sometime, but meantime, first let me show it practically. Let's understand by executing or by using these instructions. Let's create some images and understand how it works. Before I go there, let me connect to some server, my server. Maybe let me connect to this build server itself. Let me connect to this build server. Let me connect here. Now, if required, can I directly create a container from this image also? Something like this. This is the image. So what is this image? What is this image? CentOS. So is it a full-blown operating system? Is it going to have a complete CentOS operating system? No. It's just a libraries to interact with kernel. It's just a libraries to interact with kernel. So even though I have Ubuntu in the host, I mean to say my operating system in the Docker server is Ubuntu. This is just a libraries to interact with kernel. It is not full-blown CentOS operating system. So if I create a container out of this CentOS library, does container will be created using this image? Where do we have that image? Where do we have that image? Since I have not given any registry details, I have just given repository details. Do I have that image in the Docker Hub? Do you see? There is a image. I mean to say there is a repository called CentOS. Do you see there is a repository called CentOS? This is official image. What is this CentOS? CentOS is a Linux community supported distribution. It is just a libraries to interact with kernel. It is not a full-blown operating system. Since I have not given any tag, so what tag will be used to create a container for this image? :latest. Now, even though I am not using -d, let's remove this -d. I no need to use -d also. Let container created in interactive mode also fine. Now it is not able to find that image locally. It is pulling the image and creating a container directly from that CentOS. Did I created this CentOS image? Did I created this CentOS image? No. It is already created, available part of repository. Now if you see, do you see that container is in running state? Even the use docker run, Even though I use docker run, it has created a container and started the container. It is not in a running state. Do you see it is in exited state? It is in exited state. Even though I start, again, I am starting that container again. But again, do you see again it is in running state? Even though I started that container again? No. If you see again, it is in exited state. Why? Why? What do you think why this is happening? Any guess? That is fine. Interactive mode, whatever, whether it is interactive, whether it is background mode, even though it is interactive, I should see something, right? If you understand correctly, this is just a CentOS library. Do I have any software like Java, Tomcat, Node.js, Python, database, Jenkins, Nexus, SonarQube, any software? No. It is just a plain library, plain CentOS library. And if you see what command got executed while starting the container, you can see what command got executed while starting the container. If you see by default, only bash shell. So is that command is executed successfully? If you see the exit code also, exit codes also you can understand what this 0 indicates. Is that executed successfully? Is that process is completed successfully? That process is executed successfully. This is just a bash command. This is just, it has just executed a bash command. Is it going to be keep running? Is that process is will keep on running? This command is executed successfully. You see the exit codes. What this 0 indicates? That exit code. Exit codes also important. What 0 indicates? If you see, this is also important. If you see that there are a lot of exit codes, that status like 0, 127, 137 like this. So what is that 0 indicates? What is that 0 indicates? Success. Is that process completed successfully? Is that process completed successfully? So 0 indicates it's successful because it has just executed this bin bash command. But is it starting any process? Like, is this going to be keep on running? No, right? But if it is a Tomcat process, does that process will keep running? Does the Tomcat will keep running? Yes. So this is just a plain software, plain CentOS library that is executed successfully. And it has done its job. It has done its job. That's why it is exited. But do I have any application or any software which makes the container, the process alive here? No. But when I'm creating a container out of this Tomcat image or Jenkins image like that, is that container is in running state because the process, the Tomcat process is keep running, the container is in running state. Now, if required, can I create a containers in an interactive mode also? Something like this, -it, docker run, -it. You can use name of the container, something like this, CentOS, which command you want to run interactively. So if I run like this, if I execute like this, does container will be created in an interactive mode using this image? Can I go inside the container? While creating a container itself, I can go inside the container like this. But now will I get an error saying that container with this name already exists? Because again, it is going to create a container. and start the container. Am I going to get errors? One second. Docker run -it. Now do you see, am I getting a error with this name already container is there? Now let me remove that container. Let me remove that container. Now let me create interactively -it and this option I am using. So does container will be created? Will I go inside the container because I am interactively creating and running this command? Now am I inside the container now? If you see any process running inside this container except that bash, do we have any other process which is running the container in the container? No. Now if I come out of this container, does that container will be in exited state? I mean to say stopped state also, because nothing is running. Nothing is running, no process is running. Do I have any software like Java? Do I have any software like Jenkins, Tomcat here? No. If I come out of this container, if you see, is that container is in stopped state? If you see, yes. But if required, can I use this as a base image to create my own image with required softwares, libraries, application code? Can I use this as a base image to create my own image with the required softwares, libraries, configurations, application code? Can I do that? Yes. So let's show that. Let me show that. Let me create one directory just for demonstration. Docker file labs. Let me go inside the Docker file labs. I'm not Dockerizing any application. Just I'm trying to make you understand the Docker file keywords. I'm not Dockerizing any application. Do I have any source code here? Do I have any source code like Java code, .NET code, Python code? Nothing. Just I'm trying to make you understand the concept of Docker file instructions. I'm just creating some images, dummy images. Now I'm creating a Docker file like this. This is the default name. Now here, can I say something like this from CentOS if required, or from Ubuntu also? You have the way you have a CentOS, you have a Ubuntu also. The way you have a CentOS, you have a Ubuntu library. You have Alpine Linux. What is Alpine? I will explain later. You have Alpine Linux, Ubuntu Linux, like this. These are base images. If required, can I use this as a base? Since I have not mentioned any tag, what will be the tag will be used for this base? Latest. On top of this, using run instruction, can I do some configurations? Suppose run yum install. I want Git software. Can I do something like this? Suppose I want to create some directory. Can I do something like this? Something like this. Suppose I want to install some other softwares also like curl, wget. Can I do like this? Yes. And here I am using CentOS library, but do you think this will work? I am using CentOS library. Here, do you think this will work? No, because this is CentOS, not Ubuntu library. But even though your server is Ubuntu, that doesn't matter. You are creating this image on Ubuntu host, but that doesn't matter. So these instructions will be executed on top of these layers, on top of the CentOS library. So If I do something like this, it won't work. And again, if this is not part of this base, if this is not part of this base image, again, do you get a message saying that M not found, M command not found, like that? Yes. Now, just to make you understand, let me use run with echo statement so that you can easily understand when this will be processed. I'm just saying echo statement, run with echo, so that you can easily understand. If this is processed, if this is printed while building the image itself, can you consider this run commands will be executed while building the image itself? If you see this output while building the image itself, can you consider that run is going to be executed while creating an image itself? Just to make you understand, I am using this echo statement. But in your actual Docker files, in your project Docker files, are you going to use run echo like this? No. Just to make you understand when this is going to process, I am giving like this. Now I have run like this. Run echo welcome run 2. I am creating a Docker image out of this Docker file. But is that image is going to have any application code? I am not copying any application code here, right? Just to make you understand these instructions, I am creating this Docker file. Now, this is my Docker file. Can I build the image out of this Docker file? What command I can use to build the image out of this Docker file? Can I use Docker build -t? Now, this is just a dummy images. I don't want to tag with any registry because I don't want to push this image to any repository. I don't want to tag. I'm not giving any registry details. I'm just giving something like this. I'm tagging something like this without any registry details. Will I able to push this image to any registry? Because this image doesn't have registry details. Because I don't want to push this one. This is just for learning purpose. I'm creating an image. So I don't want to push. I'm not giving any registry details. Just like this. And what tag will be used? Even though I'm not using colon, what tag will be used? Colon latest. Now, I'm not using registry because I don't want to push this one. This is just for learning purpose. Now, when I'm executing this command, what is this at the last? That space dot. This is your build context. Does the whatever files we have in the build context, will it be sent to the Docker daemon by CLI? Whatever files we have. If I have any source code, any application code, any configuration file, will it be sent to the build context? Yes. Suppose if I want to copy those files to my image, can I use copy instruction or add instruction to copy those files, whatever files I want to copy to the image? You can use that. For now, I am not using that copy. Now let me build like this. Since this image is already there locally, is Docker is going to build, pull the image again? Since this image is already there locally, is it going to pull that image again? No. If that is not there, is it going to pull the image again while building? Yes. Now let me show you. I am building the image. The default name. Do I have a Docker file with the default name? I have a Docker file with this default name. So let's do this. Now, if you see with that image, there is a problem with this base image. It is unable to download. There is some problem with this base image. I already observed this issue. Let me use something different. With that base image, there is a issue. Last time also I observed with colon latest there is a issue. Maybe let me use a different version of the image, base image. Let me use different tag. If required, can we check the Docker file of that CentOS image? If they provided here, if they want to reveal that, then you can see here they have given like this. If you see here supported tags and respective Docker files, they have given like this. If I go there, will I able to see this Docker file of that one CentOS? Sometimes in the interview they are going to ask this from scratch. What is the meaning of from scratch? So they are starting from scratch. This is the Docker file of CentOS image. So they are saying from scratch. What is the meaning of scratch? Empty, nothing. They are starting with nothing, empty. So scratch is nothing but empty. So if you see something like this, scratch. This scratch is nothing but empty, an explicit empty image. So nothing will be there. It is empty. So if you see on top of that empty, the CentOS has added their file, that CentOS library file using add instruction on top of empty. Did they added that CentOS library file? So this is the source of CentOS Docker file, but there are problems with that CentOS colon latest tag. CentOS colon latest tag is not working for some reason. Let me see if I can use a different version of the CentOS. I can go to the tags. Maybe let me try with CentOS 7 or CentOS 8 as a base image. Because this yum install command is not working, we observed last time also. If these type of issues are there, we can talk to the Docker community if it is official support is there. Otherwise, you need to use different base images. Now, this is repository. What is this? Colon CentOS 8. What is that? What is this? And what is this? Tag. Now, is that image part of my local server where I'm building the image? No. Is it going to pull now the base image also? If you see, is it pulling that base image? So something wrong with this CentOS itself. Let me use, instead of CentOS, maybe let me use Ubuntu. Let me use Ubuntu base. We need to talk to the respective owner who is maintaining that image. If it is official support we have, then we can talk to them. This image is not working for so and so reason. If there is no official support, then let me use different. Now, which library I am using? Instead of CentOS, I am using Ubuntu. Now, in Ubuntu library, can I use apt like this? Yes. Now, let's try this. Let me build this. Now, this is not there. I think it is going to pull that image. It is pulling that image. On top of that base image, is it executing these commands, run command? But if you see, is your command is successful? I mean to say, is your image is created successfully? Is your image is created successfully? Is your image is created successfully? Is it failed at this level itself? It's failed at this level itself. So let me do something. Let me do something. What I am trying to do here? What I am trying to do here? I am updating that package manager. Then what this double ampersand, you know already all these things. What is this double ampersand? Can I execute multiple commands at a time using this double ampersand, which means this command will be executed, then this command will be executed under condition. You already know all these things, I hope. This is nothing to do with the Docker. Now, let me build this. Now it is updating the package manager. Then it is installing the libraries, that git, curl, all those things. No human interaction. No human interaction. So for that reason, did I use -y? Because I don't want to type yn like that, because no human interaction is required. So I used -y. Now, if you observe closely, purposefully I have kept this echo statements also. If you see this echo statement, run echo, welcome run to. If you see, is that processed already? Can I see the output of this? Can I see the output? Since I used echo, it is printing that message, which means is the run instructions are getting executed while creating a image itself, while building the image itself. Yes. Now if you see here also, it is saying this one, welcome to run one. Now if you observe now, without making any changes, there is nothing is getting changed. If I build one more time, if you see each instruction, it is saying running in. What is this? That each Docker file instruction, it is saying running in. What is that running in? It is saying this command, running in, like this. What it is doing? Each instruction is creating one temporary container. Each instruction is creating one temporary container, because to execute this command, it is creating one intermediate container or temporary container. It is creating one temporary container to execute these commands. Once that command is executed in that container, is it going to form a layer out of that temporary container? Is it going to form a layer? Is it going to create a layer out of the temporary container? Yes. So this running in is nothing but it is forming one layer. It is forming one layer. It is creating one layer by running that command in a temporary container. Now I am not making any changes now. I am not making any changes. I am trying to build again. Do you think those layers will be again created, or it is going to use some kind of a cache concept? Do you think those layers will be again processed, again created, or do you think is it going to use some kind of a cache concept? This time, if you see, very quickly I got a message saying that the image is successfully built, successfully tagged. But if you see, is it saying using cache, like this? What is this cache? Sometimes in the interview they are going to ask, what is build cache in Docker? What is build cache in Docker? What is the meaning of build cache in Docker? If that layer, if that image layer is already processed and there are no changes to that layer, is it going to again create that layer? Is Docker is again going to build that layer? No. It is going to use from the cache. So does all these layers is part of that working directory of your Docker already? Since there is no changes to your instruction, there is no change in your instruction, is it going to reuse that layer which is part of the cache? Yes. But if something is getting changed, maybe you are modifying the instruction. Let's say you are modifying this instruction. This instruction is getting updated. Now, is it going to process this layer again? Now I am modifying this one. I am building the image again. If you see the last layer, whatever layer I just modified, do you see again it has created some intermediate container to process that layer? But again, if I build now, is it going to again create that layer again, or it is going to use cache? If you see, it is using what now? Cache. Now, one more thing. Now let's consider I am updating this one, this layer. Now, is it going to process only this layer, or is it going to process all these layers also? Because I am updating this layer, these layers are above on top of the layer. So is it going to process all these layers again, or only this layer will be processed? What do you think? Because this is the layer, on top of this layer it is going to form these layers. So since this layer itself is modified, do you think even though there is no change in these instructions, is it going to process all these layers again? Whatever I modified here, these layers will be processed again along with this one. Let me show that. Now if you see, since the top, this layer is modified, do you see again the other layers also getting processed again? Now, this time, if I do it one more time, is it going to again use the cache? Because no changes in any layer, any file, cache this time. Now, if I modify this layer, let's say I am modifying this content layer, do you think this layer will be processed now again? No. But these three, yes. That is how it will work. So what is Docker build cache? Docker is going to use a cache concept to build the images. Docker will cache all the layers of your image. If there is no changes to your layers, your instructions, Docker is going to use the layer from the cache. So why build cache? What is the advantage with build cache? Why build cache? What is the advantage with the Docker build cache? Does the Docker build cache is helping to improve the build time of our image? Is it improving the time of the image? Is it saving the time to create an image unnecessarily? No need to create the layers if there are no changes. Will it improve the speed of creating a Docker image? Yes, something like this. Now, if I don't want to use the cache, even though there is no change, I don't want to use the cache. Do I have any option to say, don't use cache, process the layers again and again? Yes. If you have an option called hyphen no hyphen cache. Because of this option, is it going to use the cache even though there is no change in those layers? If you see, because of this hyphen no cache option, even though there is no change in your instruction in your layers, is it recreating those layers again? Yes. They have provided the option, but do you need to use that option unnecessarily? Not required, right? If there is a change, automatically it will create a layer. If there is no change, it will not create a layer again. So that's why you no need to use that one. So this is how it works. Is everyone clear what is build cache? How it works? Now, and also by this time you should have understand what is the use of run. When I am using run, is that instructions are getting executed while building the image. Now this image, this image created created out of this Ubuntu base image. So Ubuntu base is only 72 MB, but why this image has 211 MB? What additionally we have in this image, our own image which we have created on top of Ubuntu? So do I have all these softwares also? This Git software, curl software, wget software additionally? Yes, we have this additional. How to see the layers of this image? As I already discussed, what command I can use? I want to see the layers of this image. What command I can use? We already discussed. What command can be used to see the layers of the image? Docker history command. Docker exec is for what purpose? Someone is saying Docker exec. Docker exec is for what purpose? If I want to execute the command on the container, if I want to execute the command on the container, I can use Docker exec. If I want to see the layers of the image, can I use Docker history command or Docker inspect command also? Fine. If you see, this is my base image. This is my base image, right? These two layers are coming from the base image. Does our instructions, whatever I have in a Docker file, that run instructions, do you see each instruction formed one layer? This one layer, this is one more layer, this is one more layer. But here nothing I have done. So the size of this layer is 0 bytes because I just executed echo command. Nothing I copied, nothing I have installed. So that's why 0 bytes, 0 bytes, 0 bytes. But if you see this layer, what do I have in this layer? Git wget curl. So these are the layers of my image. Now if I create a container from this image, will I have a Ubuntu libraries along with Git software, curl software, wget software wherever I create? Yes. So we can use this run instruction to install required softwares. As I already used multiple run instructions, is all these run instructions processed one after the other? Yes. Now, if required, now if I create a container out of that image, I created an image. I created an image. If I create a container out of the image, if you see Docker run, I am not giving any name also. I am not giving any name also. Who will assign the name? Who will assign the name if I don't give the name? Docker daemon. I am not using -d. I am not using -d also. It will be started in an interactive mode. But if you see, container is started, but why it is in not running state? Why it is in exited state? Using this image, I created a container. Why it is in exited state? Using this image, I created a container. Why it is in exited state? Because no process running inside the container. What command got executed by default? Bash. But did I mention that as a CMD in the Docker file? Did I mention that as a CMD in the Docker file? No. But how come? How come that is the default CMD? Because that is part of your base image. That is part of your base image. If you see, for now I am using Ubuntu base. For now I am using Ubuntu base. If you see the Docker file, you can see the Docker file of that any tag. Maybe you can use these tags also, fine. So do we have that as a CMD? in the Ubuntu base image, do we have bash as a CMD here? So because of this, is this command is getting executed while starting the container, that bash command? Yes. So that is just one instruction. Is it successfully done its job? Is that command, is that process successfully completed? You can see the exit code 0. It indicates success. Because that is one command, it is successfully executed. It has just done its job, successfully stopped. Now, if required, can I define my own CMD in Docker file? As per my requirement, can I define my own CMD in my Docker file? Something like this. Now, I'm giving something like this. This command, this command, this command. Now, instead of bash command, now what command will be executed? If I give something like this, date command. Suppose I can give something like this also. I can give something like this also. But do I have that software in this image? Do I have this script in this image? I can give something like this also. But do you think this will be executed successfully? Because do you have that software? Do you have that script in the image? No. I can execute any command, something like this. Java-jar, Java-jar, that jar file name like this. But first of all, do I have a Java software in the image? One thing. First of all, do I have a Java software in the image? No. Someone is saying yes. Where? Where? Where is the Java software out of this image? I'm just taking Ubuntu as a base library. I installed just a git curl wget. Where is Java? From where we are getting Java? We don't have a Java. But let's consider I am taking base image as something like this. OpenJDK, something like this, 8.0, something like this. Now, will I get a Java from this base image? Some, some container libraries plus Java. Otherwise, I am taking Ubuntu itself. If required, can I install Java software the way I'm installing required softwares? Can I install Java softwares also? Like whatever software, if required, something like this? Just to give an example, I can do this. If I have a Java software, this Java will work. But do I have this application code copied to this image? Will I get saying this is not found? Even though I install Java, do I have this application package, application code as part of my image? No. Again, it won't work. We can execute any command, but do I need to make sure we have required softwares, libraries, part of the image with the required code also? Yes. For now, I am executing something like this. Is this command is going to be executed now when I start the container? Again, instead of bash command, does this command will be executed? Yes. But the changes in Docker file, will it automatically reflect in the existing images? No, right? So do I need to build the image again? Do I need to build the image again? Yes. So let me build. Let me build again. Docker build. I want to use cache because I don't want to waste much time. I want to use cache concept. Now, this is the new command. This is the new instruction. It has created one layer. But if you see, is this command executed while building the image? Do you see output like this? The date output like this? Did you see this output like this while building the image? Did you see the output of this date like this? while building the image? No. Which means, is the CMD will be executed while building the image? Does the CMD will be executed while creating or building the image? No. But when this will be processed? When this will be processed? When I create a container. Now I am saying Docker run image1. I am not using any name of the container, or I am not creating any detached mode. Now, does this date command will be executed in an interactive mode? Does the CMD will be started in an interactive mode now? Because I am not using -d. Yes. Now, 1 second, guys. Why there is a typo? Okay, there is a typo. The image name is this. There is a typo in my image. I created an image like this. IMJE1, but here I am using different, so that's why. So let me run like this. Now, this date, what it is saying? That is not found, which means, is that a date library, is that a date package is part of your base, your image? It is saying it is trying to start the container. This command is getting executed. But do I have that date software, or I mean to say date library as part of this base? Because this is not a full-blown operating system. This is not a full-blown operating system. This is just a container library which has bare minimal softwares. Bare minimal softwares. This is not there. I think it has to be, let me try with double quotes. I think it has to be in double quotes. Maybe because of that. Let me try. Let me build the image again. In double quotes I kept. Yeah, the problem because of double quotes. The problem because of double quotes. Here I have used single quote. The CMD should be in double quotes. So if you see, do I have the image? When I created a container, do you see that CMD is executed? Which means whatever CMD I have given, is that command got executed while starting the container? Yes. Now, again, is that container is running state? Is it in running state? It is again in exited state, because is this successfully completed that process? Is the date command is successfully executed? Because it is not a continuous process like Jenkins, like Tomcat, like Nexus. It is not a continuous process. It has just completed that task. Now this is executed while while starting the container. As I already told, for what purpose we can use CMD? Can I use CMD to start the process of your application, your container, whatever process you want to start? This is just some dummy file. This is just some dummy file to make you understand these instructions. But if you see the actual application, some sample application like this, some sample application Docker file like this, it has some meaning. So I am using this from instruction. Am I taking Java as a base? Am I getting Java software from this base along with container libraries? So it is using Alpine Linux. It is using Alpine Linux, Alpine base library, Alpine container Linux with Java software I am getting. On top of that, am I adding this library, bash, that sh library? This APK. What is this APK, guys? The way we have a APT, the way you have a M. This is again one more package manager, APK. So this APK package manager works for Alpine libraries. Alpine is again one container OS, one operating system, Alpine. So we are updating the package manager. We are adding. It is like a yum install or apt install. We are adding this library. Then using this run instruction, we are creating one folder like this. Using copy instruction, we are copying our application code. Now here CMD. Does this command works? Java command, because we have a Java software coming from this base. Does this command works? Yes. And do I have this application code also? Do I have this application code also as part of the image because I copied this one? So this way, using these type of instructions, using these type of Docker file instructions, can I create a Docker image with required softwares, libraries, application code, configurations as per the requirement? If you by heart, you cannot learn. If you by heart like this, Bhaskar sir or Balaji sir has created a Docker file, line 1 from Ubuntu, line 2 run echo like this. If you learn this way, that is not correct. Understand what is from, what is run, what is CMD, what is copy, how it works, in what use case I can use all these things. If you learn the concepts, will you able to write a Docker file for any requirement which comes to you in your project? So don't by heart any code. Don't by heart any code. That can be Jenkins file, that can be Docker file, that can be shell script file, that can be Ansible YML file, that can be Kubernetes YML file, Docker Compose file. Don't by heart. Understand concept. What is what? So if you know what is Jenkins, what is declarative pipeline, how to write declarative pipeline, what is stage, what is step, how to use environment variables, how to use secrets in Jenkins. If you know these concepts, if you got any requirement to write a pipeline for any project, will you able to write even 100 lines of Jenkins file or 1,000 lines of Jenkins file also? If you know the concept, by looking at the number of lines of code, you should not be panic. You should not get panic by looking at the number of lines of code. If you know the concept, whether it's a 10 lines, whether it's 100 lines, will you able to understand and do the create based on the requirement? Yes. But if you by heart, then you will come to me, sir, I have this much lines of code. I have this much lines of code. Yes. But if you know the concept, that is nothing. But if you start by hearting step 1 like this, step 2 like this, you will have that type of issues only. Now, this is just a sample, but does it make any sense to any application? If I create a Docker container or image out of this Docker file, do we have any application, any software running in this? No. But this concept is important. That's why I'm taking what is run, when this will be executed, what is layer, how it is going to be processed. So we are discussing in this way. Now, the way we have a CMD, let me show you one more thing. Now I am saying something like this. This command works. This command works because do I have a Git software? If I execute something like this as a CMD, is it going to work this command? Because we have a Git software installed. Now let me build the image. Let me build the image. Now let me run that container. I build the image. Let me execute that container. Now am I able to see, is this command executed successfully while starting the container? Yes. Now, but let's say I am executing some command or some script which is not part of that image. I am executing some command or script like this, which is not part of the image. That script or that library is not part of the image. Let me build the image again. Let me run this time. Do you see? It is saying that some kind of a error. This Java executable not found in the path. Why I am getting this one? The CMD is getting executed while starting the container, but do I have this software part of that library? I mean to say that image. Do I have this software part of the image? No. That's why we are getting error. So is everyone clear? What is CMD? Why we need to use CMD? For what purpose we will use CMD? Here I just used some kind of a echo statements like this. I just use some kind of a echo statements like this also. So this CMD, let me build the image again. If I create a container, now can I see that echo statement? Can I see this as an output while starting the container? Welcome from CMD. So this is just to start the process. We can use CMD. As I already told, can I have more than one CMD in a Docker file? Something like this. Again, is it allowed? Maybe you may have a different of types of questions. Sir, is it fine? Is it fine? Can I have something like this? Can I have something like this? Can I have something like this? I have a CMD later run. So can I have something like this? Yes. Yes, you can have something like this. Does this one also will be executed while building the image now? If I build image, this run command will be executed. Now building the image, yes. Now I have two CMDs, this one as well as this one. I have two CMDs, this one as well as this one. Now let me save that. Guys, let me show that this is my Docker file. This is my Docker file. Now let me build the image. Let me build the image. Screen is little lagging. Let me see. 1 second. 1 second, guys. I connected to different network. Give me a second. I'm switching back to my Wi-Fi. Just give me 2 minutes. Let me know if you can see my screen, if I am audible now. I just changed my network. Guys, let me know if you can see my screen again and if I am audible. I changed my network. I changed my network. Am I audible now? Is my screen visible? Okay. Now let's continue. What I was saying, this is my Docker file. This is my Docker file. Now I have CMD, I have run like this, again CMD. Now when I build this image, is this CMD will, is this run will be executed while building the image, even though I have after CMD? Yes. It will work. It will work. 1 second. Build. This run command is also processed while creating an image, but I have two CMDs. Do you see CMDs are executed while building the image? I have two CMDs. No. But when this CMD will be executed? When this CMD will be executed while starting the container. But which one will be executed? Now I have this one as well as this one. Both I have. Which one will be executed now? This one will be executed. Let me show you. Now, do you see this one is executed? This one instead of this one? Yes. So which means Can I have more than one CMD in a Docker file? Technically, yes. But does Docker will execute all the CMDs while starting the container? No, only one. Because only one process you want to start, right? This is how it works. Now, the way we have a CMD, there is one more instruction called entry point. There is one more instruction called entry point. What is this entry point? We can set entry point. Again, it is command or script only. We can set entry point for your container. What is the entry point? I mean to say, what process has to be started for your container. So this entry point also will be executed when will be executed or processed, both are same, while starting the container only. While starting the container. If this is also going to happen while starting the container, then what is the difference between CMD and entry point? So then what is the difference between CMD and entry point? Did you guys observe these type of questions in the interview? We shared lot of interview questions. Our students has attended interviews, and they shared whatever questions has been asked in the interview. Did you guys observe these type of questions? Whatever we already shared, which we got from our students only, the guys who attended interviews. So these type of questions are there. What is difference between CMD? What is difference between CMD and run, CMD and entry point, Docker copy and CP, like that? In the interview, sometimes they may ask you to write some sample Docker files. When they ask you to write some sample Docker files, they are not worried about what you are doing here. You no need to remember all these things. When they ask you to write a sample Docker files, you can just give a snippet here. I will do like this. No need to give exact code here. But what they will be focusing more, they are focusing whether you are using the correct Docker DSL instructions or not. Whether you are using the correct instruction to do that task. They are not much focused on here because no one can remember. Suppose I want to download some software like this. I want to download some software like this in the image. I want to download some software like this in the image. Does anyone can remember, or do we need to by heart this line saying that https ://dlcdn? No one will remember. We no need to remember also. But if they ask you to do something like this, can I use appropriate instructions, like maybe I can use run with the wget, or can I use add like this? This is not important. What you are doing here is important. You no need to remember. I don't remember all these things. I'll say I will use URL of that whatever. I'll say something like this. I will use this instruction. I will use that URL of that software, that jar file, tar file, zip file, whatever it is. But this is most important. So don't by heart anything, not required also, but understand what is what, how to write, and follow the best practices while doing this. Now, the way I have a CMD, I have one more instruction called entry point. So let me create one more Docker file. The way I am using CMD here, can I use entry point? The way I am using CMD, can I use entry point instead of CMD? Like this, entry point. Yes. So when this entry point will be executed, again, as I already told, when this entry point will be executed while starting the container only. Now this is my Docker file. Different name. Now if I want to create an image out of the Docker file, do I need to use -f option also? -f option also, because this is different name, custom name. Like this. Now instead of CMD, I have a Docker file. Sorry, I have an entry point. Instead of CMD, I have an entry point. Even though this is different image, is it using again cache of those layers? Because these layers also remain same in this Docker file, those instructions. Again, it is using cache. But this one, is it created new layer? Is it created a different layer? Now, some of the layers is common for both these images. Now I have this image 2 and image 1. If you see few layers, is it common for both? Because the instructions are same. So this way, is it duplicating the layers in the local registries also? Is it duplicating the layers in the local registries also? No, it is not duplicating the layers. If you see Docker history image 2, Docker history image 1. If you see some layers, is it same? If you see some layers, is it same? The base image is same. This one, do you see same layer is used here also, because I have that instruction. So this way, is it duplicating the local registries? No, right? So now I have this layer, but this one, the top layer is different. Here I have a CMD, but in this image, what is the layer I have? I removed the CMD. What I used instead of CMD in the other image? Entry point. Now, this is my Docker file. If you see, while building the image, is that entry point executed? While building the image, is that entry point processed or executed? If you see, no. So when this will be processed, when this will be executed, as I already told, while starting the container. Now let me execute docker run image 2. Docker run image 2. Now this is my Docker file. Guys, if you inspect the image also, you can see the details. If I inspect the image also, now can I see whether I used the entry point or whether I used the CMD? Can I see while inspecting the image also? Yes. Now let me start this container. Let me run this container. Let me start this container. Now can I see that one? The message is welcome from CMD, but that is not actually, that is this one. So here I have given this one. So this is getting executed while starting the container? If you see, is entry point is getting executed while starting the container? Now, what is the difference between CMD and entry point now? What is the difference between CMD and entry point? Both will be used to start the process. The difference here is CMD can be overridden at runtime. which means while creating container, we can override. CMD can be overridden while creating a container. Whereas entry point cannot be overridden. What is the meaning of entry point cannot be overridden? Let's say this is my entry point. This is my entry point in Docker file. So always this is my entry point. This echo is my entry point. Just to give an example. So does always this will be executed? Can you override this at runtime? No. But suppose I have a CMD. Let's say instead of entry point, I have a CMD like this. I have a CMD like this. While creating a container, something like this, I can give command. Now, while creating a container, I am using CMD. Suppose I am creating a container like this. I am creating a container like this. Now here, if I give something like this, while creating a container, if I give something like this, and I have a CMD like this, which one will be executed? If I do like this while creating a container, this one, because I can override at runtime. But if I don't override, if I don't pass anything like this, I am just doing, then this is going to be executed? Is this CMD is going to be executed? I am just using echo. Instead of echo, let's say I have something like this. I have something like this. If I don't pass anything, this will be executed. Suppose if I pass something like this, is this will be executed? No. Just to show that, let me show you this image. Let me show you this image. Maybe let me build image. Maybe let me pull the image. I already have an image. I am pulling this image. Maven-web- application, this image. So what is the CMD is defined for this image? What is the CMD is defined for this image? I already created an image. I am just pulling that image. What is the CMD defined for that image? Catalina.sh. sh Catalina.sh. Now while creating a container, if I don't pass anything, is that command is getting executed? If I don't pass anything, is that Catalina.sh is getting executed in the container and Tomcat is started? If you see, this command is executed, Tomcat process is started. Now let me remove this. Let me remove this container. Now while creating a container, whether you are using Docker create or Docker run, that doesn't matter. Now I am saying something like this. After that image name, I am giving something like this. Now, even though this image has a Java software, Tomcat software, when I create a container like this, do you think Java process, Tomcat process will be started now? Now let me show that. Why container is in exited state, why it is not in a running state? If you see, this time what command got executed on that container? Because of this date. So if I have a CMD, can I override the CMD at runtime, which means while creating a container? Yes. Let's consider I have an entry point. Let's say I have an entry point like this. So let's take this example, this image. I have an entry point like this. I created an image out of this Docker file, this image. So this image has an entry point. Now, while creating a container, if I don't pass anything, is this entry point is getting executed? Do you see? Is that is getting executed, this one? Now, if I pass like this now, if I pass like this, when I have an entry point, this has an entry point. When I pass like this, what will happen? What will be the output? This is my entry point. Always this command. Always this command. Now let me give some options. Let me give some options. Guess the answer. Now options here. First option is this. Second option, something like date. Second option, something like this. Just to give an example. Third, error. Fourth, both. Normally 4 options. I am giving fifth options. I am giving another option also. Normally 4 options. Another option is, so out of these 5 options, what will happen? Now I have an entry point like this, and while creating a container, I am doing this. What is the output of that? How it will process? Come on, guys. Just guess. I am not, let's consider this as an interview, but I am not going to give offer. Okay. Consider this as an interview, but I'm not going to give any offer. So answer. What do you think? Just guess only, right? You don't need to take it so seriously. Like, just say option. Option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, the answer is this. The answer is this. What does it mean? So when we have an entry point, always this will be executed. Always this is my entry point. This is my entry point. Suppose if I have something like this, this is my entry point or command. This is kind of an entrance for your container. This is kind of an entrance. Always this entrance, you have to go through this, entrance only, entry point only. So always this will be processed. So if I am doing like this, this command is not going to be a command anymore. Does this command will be used as an argument for whatever entry point you are using? This will be used as an argument for this entry point. So this is one argument. So because of that, I will get like this. And is this considered as again argument for this entry point? Is this date command is not command anymore? This will be considered as an argument for entry point, echo. Here it is echo. Suppose if I have something else, something like this. Now, always this is one argument. Does this will be used as an argument for again this entry point? It will execute like sh Katrina sh and again date also. Is this will be passed as an argument for this entry point if I have something like this? Yes. Now I am using just echo here. So this is one argument. Is this is used as an argument for this entry point when I have an entry point? Yes. So if that is the case, What is the output, guys? If this is used as an argument for your entry point, what is the answer? 5. Let me show that. Now I have an entry point. Now I am passing something like this. Now can I see this is processed? This is your entry point, first argument. Is it taking this one as a second argument? As a second argument, this is not a command anymore. It is taking as an argument here. Now instead of this one, if I don't pass that one, is it going to execute this one only with this argument? Only that argument? Yes. Now here, if I am passing something like this pwd or whatever, is this pwd is a command anymore? Since because of this entry point, no. This is taking as an argument. It is taking as an argument for your entry point. That is how it works. But if I have a CMD, let's consider this Docker file. I have a CMD. Now, when I create image out of when I create a container out of that image, this image, is this is getting executed if I don't pass anything? Is this is getting executed if I don't pass anything? Yes. Now, if I say something like this, now is this completely replaced with this one as a command? Instead of date command, is it going to execute pwd command? Now can I see that? If I instead of pwd, if I say ls, so is this ls command is getting executed while starting the container? Is this is replaced with this ls? So is everyone clear? What is the difference between CMD and entry point? Now, one more use case. Can I have a CMD and entry point together in my Docker file? Can I have a CMD and entry point together in a Docker file? Something like this. I have an entry point as well as CMD. Can I have something like this? Any command, just to give an example. All these are dummy, guys. All these are dummy. Just we are understanding this concept. What is this? What is this? When it will work? How it will work? If you want to actually start your application, instead of using echo or ls, something like this, can I use java-jar, catalina.sh, jenkins-jar, or tomcat or database process? Yes. I am using this one so that you can easily understand. Now I have something like this. Now how it work? How it work? If I have something like this, let me build the image with this Docker file. Let me build the image with this Docker file. Image 3 -f, this Docker file. I am building image out of the Docker file. It has entry point and CMD like this. Now when I start the container, out of that image, what will be the output? Again. So options again. So I have something like this in my Docker file. I have something like this in my Docker file. Both I have entry point like this. I have CMD also like this. Now when I create a container out of that image, wherever, maybe in same server, other server, that doesn't matter. I am creating an image like this. Now what is the output? First option, this. Second option, that list of directories like this. That list of directories like this. This is second option. Third option, error. Fourth option, both. Fourth option, both. Something like this, both. Then fifth option, which one out of these options? If I have CMD and entry point together like this, first option only this, second option only this, third option error, fourth option both, fifth option this one. Sir, why you are making things so complicated? Why you are making things so complicated? Because I want you to understand all these use cases, scenarios. We never know which one we will get. Right? In the interview, if they ask like this also, again, how? Now, if I have a CMD and entry point together also, if I have CMD and entry point together also, or if I am passing like runtime also, that doesn't matter. If I have a CMD and entry point together also in a Docker file, is this command anymore? Is it going to be executed like this in the container? No. So this is passed as an argument for your entry point. So internally, this is your entry point. Is it going to be executed like this? Echo this argument, and again, this ls has another argument, this slash has another argument. Internally, is it going to execute like this? Echo this one argument, echo this one has another argument, echo this one has another argument. Whether you have like this or whether you are passing at runtime, if you have an entry point, this is not a command anymore. So this is how it will be executed. If this is how it is going to be executed, what will be the output? Can I see this as an output? Can I see this as an output? Yes. Let me show that. Do you see that output? If I have something like this, if I have something like this, do you see that output? This is your entry point. This is one argument. This is another argument. This is another argument. If I have both like this, sir, does this order matter? Suppose if I change the order, will it work differently? Suppose I am defining CMD first, entry point next. Is it going to function differently? If I define like this, is it going to function differently? Instead of this one first, I am changing the order. Is it going to function differently? Let me build the image. Let me build the image with that change. Let me run the container. Is it change the behavior? Do you see, is it different or same? Whether I have like this, whether I have other like this. Which means if I have a CMD and entry point together in a Docker file, is that command will be executed as a command anymore, or will it be considered as an arguments for your entry point? It will be considered as an argument for your entry point. Now, let me give one use case. Sir, in which scenarios I can use both like this? In which scenarios I can use both like this? Let me give one use case. One use case. Always I want to execute same command or script, but I should have an option to I should have an option to pass parameters, arguments at runtime. Different arguments, different arguments are parameters at runtime. While starting the container, always I want to execute same command or script, but I should have option to pass arguments at runtime. Let's take very simple use case just to give an example. Suppose I have given like this cmd, just to give an example, some shell script, or that can be shell script, that can be any other command, Java command also, some, that doesn't matter here. Suppose I have some shell script. Now I want to pass argument like this for that shell script. If I have like this, while starting the container, I want to always execute same command, but I should have an option to change the arguments. Now if I have like this, while creating a container, can I completely change this one itself? If I say something like this, is this will be executed or this will be executed? If I do something like this, completely this will be changed. Now I will not use this option. Instead of that, if I use entry point, we cannot change this one, but does always it will execute like this internally? This is one always it will be like this, sh test.sh start. But if I pass this one also here, do I have an option to change that argument at runtime based on my requirement? If I give everything like this, no. Now, can I have something like this? Always this command, this script, can I have that default value, something like this, that start? Now, if I have something like this, how it will work internally? If I have both like this, is it going to execute something like this? Is it going to execute something like this? Yes. Now, while runtime, suppose while creating at runtime, instead of start, can I give something like this? Just to give an example, restart or ABC or XYZ, that argument. If I give something like this, how it will work? It is going to always execute this one, but instead of start now, is this completely replaced with this one? Now, is it going to execute something like this internally? So if you have such type of requirements, can I go with combination of entry point and CMD together so that at runtime I can pass arguments to my entry point by overriding the CMD? That can be anything. Suppose I have entry point like this. I'm just giving as an example, Java -jar app.jar, and you want to pass some runtime arguments to Java process. Runtime arguments, Java arguments, some options, some arguments to Java process, something like this. If you don't pass anything, it will execute something like this, Java-jar that app.jar, Java-jar that app.jar. This is Java way of passing arguments, Java arguments, something like this. Now, at runtime, instead of this one, I want to pass something else. Can I do something like this at runtime? At runtime, I can say something like this. So is it internally going to execute java-jar app.jar instead of this option? Is it going to use this option? Yes. So if you have these type of requirements, can I go with combination of CMD and entry point together? Yes. But 99% of the cases, you will have both in the Docker file? No. 99.99% you will not have both. You will either have CMD or entry point. Either you will have a CMD or entry point, not both. Okay. But are you guys clear what is difference between CMD and entry point, how it works? In the interview, in the class, I explained at least 1 hour today on these three things. Run, CMD, entry point. At least I explained 1.5 hours today in the class. Yesterday also maybe 1 hour, 2 hours we discussed. But in the interview, if they ask, I am expecting at least 5 minutes. You should be able to explain at least 5 minutes. Don't say single words. Run. It will execute while creating image. CMD. It will execute while starting the container. Elaborate more, guys. In the interview, not only explaining the subject, you should also elaborate more. Guys, interview is nothing but selling yourself, marketing yourself. You know marketing, guys, right? How they will market the product. Even though the product doesn't have any quality, you will impress the way the marketing guys is presenting to you. Similarly, interview also some kind of a skill, same skill. Even though you have 10% of the subject, how good you are presenting is also important. Even though your product is very good, you have super quality product, you are expert, but if you don't know how to present yourself to the interview, does interviewer will get a good opinion, good feedback on you? No. That is also one more important thing. You need to have that type of skill sets. Selling yourself, presenting yourself is also important. If you say just 1 or 2 line answers in the interview, like interviewer will think whether this guy is rude or whether this guy doesn't know. In the interview, they'll ask something like one question, you will say just 1 line. He may feel you are little rude, or they may feel you are not have subject. Either two options. So explain in the interview more detailedly, not like 1 or 2 lines. Yes, no, don't give this type of answer. Single word answers. Elaborate at least 1 minute minimum. Some important things to be remembered in the interview also, guys. Otherwise, interview will not get impressed. Thank you, guys. I'll continue tomorrow. That's it for today. So tomorrow I'll continue with other Docker file instructions. We have a lot of other instructions like this: work dir, env, user, label, arg. We'll continue tomorrow. Thank you, guys. Have a great day. Go through this recording. Try to write some dummy Docker files like whatever I have done today and understand those keywords. We'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.